finding a balance between fashion and function is a tricky one. For a look at how wearable technology can be visually appealing as well as useful, I'm joined by the Wall Street Journal's personal technology columnist, Joanna Stern. Joanna, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN. The Apple Watch, you've reviewed it. I know you've used it extensively. What is it like as a woman to use this device?
You know, it's funny, a lot of people commenting on my Apple Watch as I walk around New York City, and you can see it right now. And what's really interesting to me with this particular design is that both men and women really like this design, both men and women saying, I want that specific one. So this one is the one with the Milanese loop. And what I think Apple's done really well here, better than any other smartwatch maker, which isn't really saying much at this point, we're only really looking at Samsung, LG, another small company called Pebble, is they've created a design that appeals to both men and women. When you go into the Apple store, you don't say, I'm a woman and I'm looking for the Apple Watch female, right? I'm not looking for that specific model. You look at all of these bands, which can appeal to men and women. They do have a sort of pink leather band that may be more for women, but the design is really unisex, and I think that makes the difference here. When you look at a lot of the Android Wear smartwatches, those look like they were designed just for men.
Yeah, so they're able to be universally appealing across the genders. In your video review that I watched online, you say that the Apple Watch has, as you put it, an interface for people with doll hands. Is usability an issue for both men and women with the Apple Watch?
It's funny you ask that, actually, because so the interface on one of the screens is sort of a screen with all these little circular icons. It's the one they show in the Apple Watch commercial. And one of the things is it's really hard to hit those targets. Now, I have the smaller version of the Apple Watch. This is the 32-millimeter version. And what I've found is that it's actually harder to hit those targets on the smaller screen. But I prefer the smaller screen because I have a smaller wrist, right? So I think that's going to be a little bit of a compromise. I think Apple's also going to obviously fine-tune some of this, and obviously people will sort of figure out what is good for them, which interfaces they have to go to, which ones they don't. I sort of avoid that whole little app home screen at this point. But yeah, I don't have doll hands. I have, I think, normal-sized hands. I don't know. That's what they tell me, the manicurists tell me. I don't know.
Now, let's widen our discussion a bit and talk about just wearables in general. Are there wearable devices out there that women in particular will want to wear?
Yeah, a few companies are going straight at the female demographic, and they're doing that in an interesting way. They're sort of creating jewelry that's disguised as tech, or tech that's disguised as jewelry. I think this is a really interesting concept. They're definitely getting the fashion right in these areas. There's one startup called Ringly. They're making a really cool ring with a Facebook alert thing. It sort of lights up when you get a Facebook alert or an email alert. Another company is doing a similar thing with a design that's actually, it's called an Etatmo June, and it actually tells you if you should get out of the sun. It looks like a brooch. It's a beautiful piece of jewelry, but it actually pairs to your phone and tells you when you should get out of the sun. The big thing with these, they look really nice, but the functionality is not there. And so to me, the biggest thing that has to happen with this is the fashion is just as important as the functionality. If we're going to put a piece of tech on our bodies, even if it looks fashionable, it has to do something for us. And I think that's where the Apple Watch is in the right direction. It's the first piece of technology I want to put on my body, and I actually want to wear as a wearable.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying Apple Watch is delivering in terms of hitting that sweet spot of fashion and functionality. But what about other makers, other companies who are also focusing on wearables? Are they listening to your criticism, what other women are saying in particular? Will they focus on making wearables appealing and also less bulky for women while delivering that functionality?
That's a great point. I think what we're seeing right now is the first generation of these wearables. That means they're really chunky in many cases. If you look at the Android Wear watches, the one from Motorola, the one from LG, the one from Samsung, these are really big watches. Now, chunky watches have been in style for women, but not ones that look like a smartphone glued to your wrist. I mean, that's not stylish, and that's not what I want to wear. When I actually wore the Motorola one, I kept saying, like, yes, I know, it looks like I'm wearing a sundial on my wrist. That's not cool, and that's not stylish. And even if they perform the functions or they have that technology in there, I don't want to wear something like that. So I think these other manufacturers definitely have to get in line with what Apple's doing. But the challenge is in that in the technology parts. The components right now are just not good enough. And that's where I think even the Apple Watch is going to get so much better. The batteries are going to get smaller. The screens are going to become more power efficient, so the batteries don't have to be as big. There's a lot that's going to happen with technology that's going to definitely influence the design of